So Donald Trump Jr. is following in his dad's footsteps by peddling lies and conspiracies and delusions to encourage violence and attacks against democracy from the Trump movement. And he's not the only one to do that this week. We saw earlier, a few days ago, Lara Trump on Fox News prime time basically say that the American people need to arm themselves and take matters into their own hands with regard to the border between the USA and Mexico, which is a horrific call to violence against undocumented people. And so Donald Trump Jr. is trying to revive the sort of conspiracies that the Trumps used in 2016 against Hillary, basically saying that Democrats are having journalists killed if they speak out against the Democrats or if they're pro-Trump or what have you. And he's basically saying that all of these journalists just happen to quote unquote take their own lives. Isn't it curious? And you might just chalk that up to Trump Jr. being an idiot, and he is. And you might even just chalk it up a bit to him wanting attention, and he does. But the Trumps know what they do. These are not just regular people, it was the first family. And when they make calls like these, they want people to follow through on them. They're not always going to say things directly because they don't want legal liability. Lara ripped the mask off a bit too much. But in general, when they say things like this, they want the Trump base, they want hardcore Republicans to go out and harass journalists. They want them to go out and harass their political opponents, all because the Trumps achieve power, not through real democracy, but through lies and theft and grifting and intimidation. And so you saw it. Trump Jr., Eric, Donald himself, Rudy Giuliani, all the other big thugs, they gave that speech on January 6th specifically to cause the mob. It wasn't an unintended side effect. It was the cause. They were hoping that they would rile them up, trial by combat, all that sort of stuff, send them to the Capitol and have them rampage for a few hours and then not do anything about it. And then afterwards deny it even happened. Or if it did, it was actually the left trying to make Trump look bad. And so you're seeing this from the Trump family. And this is part of the Trump project. It is not disconnected from Trump. Watch this clip from a former prosecutor that shows how Donald Trump is encouraging the worst aspects of American politics.
Well, I think that there's a tendency on the part of some folks maybe to not think it's that dangerous because the former president has left office. There was this great concern, would he leave peacefully and allow Joe Biden to take office? But it's still incredibly dangerous because people who believe insane things can perpetuate frauds on other folks. People who believe insane things participate in violence. People who believe insane things, the big lie in particular, engage in insurrections like they did on January 6th, and that can happen again. So the continued perpetuation of the big lie fueled by other bigger lies, including insane stories about Italian satellites changing votes in the United States of America, for which there is no evidence and any reasonable person would not believe there to be any evidence in favor of, that causes people to engage in dangerous anti-democratic behavior. So it's incredibly dangerous going forward because they're perpetuating it still.
And so doesn't that say everything? Whether it's Trump Jr. or Lara or Donald himself or Eric, they have all in recent weeks and months used their profiles, their platforms, their megaphones to encourage political violence against journalists and against anyone that didn't support their coup attempt. This family remains dangerous. So while none of them are formally in power, if they ever get it again, they will use that power to take innocent lives.